Hello, everybody, and welcome to another 2023 Lamley Awards Best of Tournament and our very first Kaido House tournament. Very excited to do this. Kaido House we had lumped in with Mini GT the last couple of years since this brand was introduced. Kaido House is Junimai's brand. Jun is well known for many beloved castings at Hot Wheels a few years ago. I think it's been a good 5 years. He bolted Mattel and has done a bunch of things, including launched this brand under the Mini GT umbrella called Kaido House. I think a lot of you are familiar. If you're not, this is your chance to see some of the castings that we've selected for the Best of tournament. And it's nice to be able to separate them from Mini GT. Obviously, you've seen the Mini GT tournament. We've picked the winner there via Instagram. That's what this is going to be as well. Go down to my Instagram stories and you can start voting. But ultimately, the branding of Kaido House is very different than Mini GT. Mini GT is all about realism. There's a lot of different directions it goes. Race cars was a big thing that Mini GT did this year. But Kaido House is very much the brainchild of Junimai. The castings are they're obviously real castings, but they're kind of customized to his aesthetic, his style, his interest. It kind of coincides with a lot of things he does with real cars. I don't need to describe all of the branding with Kaido House. That's Jun's job, but ultimately it's been very popular among collectors. And in the circles I run, Kaido House has been so significant that it seemed right this year to do a tournament. We're not going to do 16 cars because they're not. Kaido House doesn't release as much as like Mini GT does, but there's enough castings and enough variety that we thought an 8-car tournament made a lot of sense. So we are going to introduce the cars that we selected for this tournament today via drawing. Here's my trusted Kaido House box once again. We have 8 cars that we selected. Have a great committee. I'm going to put Mexico Mini GT, AP Diecast have been very helpful. They're prolific Kaido House collectors, and they've been very helpful in making these selections. Some of these are retail releases. Some of them are very exclusive, but we're going to get right to it. I'll move this box. You have a teaser of one of the models at this point, but ultimately let's just figure out what 8 models are going to go against each other in this tournament and introduce you to the models that we thought made sense as the 8 best models of 2023 from Kaido House. Looking forward to doing these tournaments every year, and as more models come out, we might even push it up to a 16. But we're not afraid of the 8. 510 Wagon, the Carbon Edition in purple is the first selection. Go ahead and show that to you. First, get some of the dust out of here. This lighting is so good that it shows every little speck of dust, but that's all right because it also makes cars pop like this purple Wagon does. Wagon is something that was introduced last year. We saw it, by the way, I should say, in the 64-car tournaments, of which we're going to do another one this year, where all of the models from different brands went up against each other. Kaido House finished as the runner-up both years. The purple Pro Stock finished second to the Par 64 Roof Yellowbird, and then last year the Kaido House Z finished runner-up to the Hot Wheels Chase Liberty Walk Skyline. So who knows what will happen this year. Obviously, there will be Kaido House models in the 64-car tournament and the 32-car tournament that we're introducing for premium brands that are not Mattel brands, which Kaido House is one, and we're very excited for that. More on that later. Back to this purple Wagon. Wagon has already been introduced, but it really took on a new look with these rims, these 4-spoke deep dish rims in gold and black. There was a red. There was a special edition that was released at JCCS, but ultimately the committee selected this purple version. Most castings, all but one casting, are represented in the 8 models we picked, and there's one repeat, but we'll get to that. But this purple Wagon was one that really stood out this year in terms of its, not only the aesthetic of the Kaido House Wagon, but with the wide body, but it really this look that Jun came up with was one that the committee really liked, and that purple really stood out. All right, its opponent in the first round is this, and we'll see what it is. I see Pro Street 510 HKS. The OG in a different outfit. The Pro Street 510 is the first casting that Kaido House introduced. way back when. What was way back when, meaning what, 2021? And we've seen it released in several different looks ever since, quite a few. This HKS was one that really stood out too. HKS, I mean, you could put HKS on a Pinto and it's going to be awesome. Well, Pintos are awesome. You could put HKS on a Chevy Cruze, on a, what's that really ugly one? Anyway, HKS is awesome, but that's partly what's great about HKS is it wouldn't be put on a Chevy Cruze, right? Anyway, I'll stop with my tangents. It looks great on the Pro Stock. So this was kind of a match made in heaven. Really, the Kaido Collector's AP Diecast, who I have been really referring to, he not only is a big Kaido collector himself, but like he gives me like there's the Discord, there's the Kaido House Discord. He gives me a sense of what the collectors are talking about, and this is one that that they definitely love. So the 510s are going up against each other in the first round, which is kind of funny. 510 is so synonymous with June. I mean, he did the 510 castings in for Hot Wheels as well, the coupe and the wagon. All right, let's find the next pairing. I see R34 on this. This is great. Skyline R34 in the Shizuoka. I hope I probably didn't say that right, but Shizuoka red. Really pretty casting. Let me get it. This was a Japan exclusive. I mentioned that some of these will be more rare than others, and I think when you're talking about Kaido House, rarities have to be considered and have to be talked about, because between the black editions, one of the black editions is going to show up here. Those are rare. I'll talk about those in a second. This was done exclusively for one of the shows in Japan. I can't remember what show it was, but there was another one in the same deco done for Malaysia. I was in Malaysia for that event, and that one was really beautiful in the jade green, but ultimately this red one really stood out, and the Kaido collectors really liked this one. And it does. The color red on this R34 is something that's just, I don't know, it just stands out. And we also have to talk about the casting. This is a casting that was introduced this year. Very unique take on an R34 with this wide body kit kind of created by June. I don't know if we've ever seen an R34 with this kind of kit on it. I don't know if we ever will, considering the value of R34s, but ultimately it's really well done with these deep dishes. And I think this is something to be said when you look at a casting like this with Junimai and the Kaido House brand, is there's some people that love this aesthetic, but there's others that maybe don't. But I would invite you to collect some of these cars if you haven't already, because not only the quality that the Mini GT team brings to the execution of these models, and then June's unique design, there's just a lot to appreciate there. You may not even have to like it, but I think that sense of appreciation will overwhelm even the idea of liking it or not liking it, if that makes sense. I hope that does, because there are some castings I like better than others. If I owned an R34, would I do that to it? No, I wouldn't. There's something about the R34, that way it was executed and the way it was designed, that really kind of like, maybe appreciation is the right word. And I have a very high appreciation for the Kaido House designs and the execution of the castings that Glenn Chow and the Mini GT team bring. All right, its opponent is another doozy. The Silverado, you already saw the box. Let me show you the model in white. This is another casting that was introduced this year. This will be the one repeat. You're going to see a second Silverado later in the tournament. Thankfully, they're not going against each other in the first round. But Silverado is another casting that, or another model that's synonymous with Junimai in the Hot Wheels world. He did design the '83 Silverado back in 2000, I think it was 8 or 9, for the Modern Classics line back then. And he's returned to the Silverado and given it some Japanese elements, not only in the deco, but also in the way it's built. And you see some elements that not only, like, I love the Chevrolet logo on the windshield, but I also like the way the wheels have done. They've been done deep dish, but they have that dog dish style that's so synonymous with the square body truck. So you see all these different elements just slammed together in a, for lack of a better term, slammed truck. Really, really unique. I have to say, and I hope this doesn't offer, but this is the casting. This casting has been my favorite Kaido House casting since it was released. Just within the last month or so, couple months, and it's very, very new, but very, very impactful, and one that obviously merits the attention. And it's going to go up against the R34, but we picked 8, so obviously the pairings are going to be brutal. All right, that's the first side. I guess I can move these over just a little bit. Let's figure out the second side, and then champ of these 4 will go against the champ of the next 4. All right, shake it up, pull out the first model, and it is going to be the Fairlady Z white, the Modal logo. This is a casting, like I said, it was the runner-up. The casting was at least the runner-up last year in the 64 car tournament. It is back this year in this Modal deco that was just released. Deep dishes are back, stretch tire, Advan, all back. Looks so cool, so clean. This is a very clean version compared to the it had the kind of the Kaido House deco on it that you see on a lot of the Kaido House models. The Zero Roundel, that was last year. This year you get this very, very clean kind of racing tribute deco, which was hard to ignore in this casting. We wanted this casting represented, and this was the best version for it according to our Kaido House committee. All right, let's see what its opponent's going to be. There it is. I mentioned there was a Black Limited, and I mentioned there was another Silverado, and it's both. So let me talk about the Black Limited. It really comes the BLK LTD. Do I have the box for this? Maybe, yeah, I do. If you're not a Kaido House collector, you'll see this box with the BLK LTD, and you'll probably see, if you're seeing it on eBay, you're seeing some very high prices next to it. These are the exclusive that are done exclusively for the Kaido House store. You know, most of these releases, like unless they're like for a specific show, most of these are hobby retail releases that you can just go to a Kaido House, so one of those, you know, licensed sellers. But the Black Limited, and we'll talk when this is the Silverado. These are special versions. Typically they're black, but not always. Very limited run. Sometimes like 150, maybe 200. I think it's been as high as 250. But the runs are super, super small. When you think about 250 is not a lot. And they're priced a little higher. They're very, very exclusive. They get exclusive stickers, hologram stickers, individually numbered on the box. Everything, the whole nine of really, really nice presentation. And an element like, I mean, I guess you could say like treasure hunts, although they're not randomly found. You just got to be in the right place at the right time to buy it. So yeah, so it's important to be at the store when they drop. If it's at a 5 o'clock, by 5:01, most of them will be gone. They sell out very, very quickly. They're very, very expensive, very, very exclusive, and I know the collectors have loved pursuing these. This, of the Black Limiteds that were released this year, the Silverado, not only because it's a Silverado casting, but also just the execution of this thing in black with the gold rims and gold trim really, really stood out. We didn't have to put a Black Limited in, but I think this one got so much attention. It was just so cool. It became kind of an easy choice. I even thought about and we considered the color changing version that was released at the Hot Wheels convention, but the Black Limited prevailed. All right, the final two, we already know I know what the pairings are going to be, but you don't. So let's just kind of, we'll just pour these out, and I'll show you the final two. First one for this last pairing. There was one other 510. 510 Wagon 4x4 in red. A couple releases of this one this year, but we went with this one with the surfboards. Let me see if I can bring it over. The surfboards you have to place on top as part of the packaging. And here, I'll just hold it this way and put it on the turntable. This is the wide 510 wagon that June did in the lower that we saw in the very first selection, and then had a little fun and lifted this thing. It doesn't make any sense. It's absurd. I've heard very, very strong opinions about this one, for and against it. But it's another one that in hand you go, okay, yeah, I probably won't see any a car like this, especially with the surfboards on it, maybe on the beach. But the execution of it is just so fantastic that it's hard to ignore. And talking to the Kaido House committee for this selection process, they were all about having this one, especially this one with the Kaido House deco. red deco on the list. And so there it is, especially with those deep dish lifted tires. It's really kind of cool, those off-road tires. The last one, I'll just show you officially what it is, and it's the one that has just within the last few seconds really been released. It's the Nissan Skyline GTR R33. We did not know if this one is going to be included, but got word from the Mini GT and Kaido House teams that it was on its way for 2023, and so it is going in. It is another brand new casting, and this is the very first version. It is the R33 Skyline. And like all of the Kaido House castings, there is nothing stock or factory about this. There's going to be some sort of modification to these cars when Junimai and the Kaido House team gets their hands on them. And ultimately, you can look at this one as modified very differently than, say, the R34. It is definitely wide, and it definitely sits low, and it definitely has those alloy deep dish rims, but it's done and executed very differently. Jun mentioned himself that the R33 of the Skylines is his favorite, and this is kind of a way that he's like to or this is kind of a, fantasy is probably the wrong word, but this is something that he's envisioned as like an execution that he likes for the R33. You can see the carbon fiber hood is very cool. I really like how the wide body is done in the back. Again, I don't know if you would see an R33 done this way, especially considering what an R33 GTR looks like, and or what it has become on the secondary market. But ultimately, you can do it in this format, and it looks really cool. Check out the spoiler. Built for the human race there below the spoiler is really, really cool. Love how that's executed. And that's ultimately what these Kaido House models are about. Again, if you can't focus, if you don't like it, focus on whether or not you can appreciate it. And I just hope you can, because I don't think you can be a car person, whether it's small cars or big cars. And small cars obviously represent car culture, the real car culture. But you may not be into a particular kind of car or a particular element of car culture, but I think we can definitely appreciate some of the creativity and execution that goes into these, and that's definitely applicable here. Jun can challenge you a little bit, and if anything, you can definitely appreciate him. There you go. Those are the four pairings, right? The 8 models that will go up against each other in the tournament on Instagram. Go in there, select the one you like the best between the pairings, and then the final 4 will go tomorrow. We'll go 24 hours after that, and then 2, and then we'll have a winner in the Kaido House tournament. And you'll see some of these probably in the 64 car tournament as well. Thank you, everybody. Thanks to the Kaido House and Mini GT teams for making sure I could have these in hand so we can showcase them. Go have fun. Thanks, everybody. Bye.